Hi guys, I'm Andy Murray from What Culture.
And I'm Adam Nicholas from What Culture Wrestling. And today we've got a few bits of news for you. We've got the wild card causing backstage chaos in WWE.
News on how AEW will crown their first champion.
2 more superstars refusing to go to Saudi Arabia.
A big WWE injury update.
And Braun Strowman wants to retire The Undertaker.
And this is the news, but today we have to start things on something of an uncomfortable note. Now, if you've been paying attention to wrestling media over the past few days, you will have seen a lot of follow-up on Ashley Massaro's passing away. Obviously, she passed last week at the age of just 39 years old. Well, it came out yesterday, or the day before that, unfortunately, she had committed suicide by hanging. Now, a lot of really nasty stuff has come out in the aftermath relating to WWE. It's causing them quite the PR nightmare, and understandably so. So Massaro's lawyer, and I hope I pronounced this right, Konstantin Kiros, published an affidavit from the deceased wrestler covering an incident when WWE allegedly, and it's important to stress that, traveled to Kuwait in 2006. In the affidavit, she claims that she was drugged and raped, and then told by company officials that, and I quote, "it would be best not to report it to the appropriate authorities." So heavy stuff there. WWE have now released a statement. It's quite long. What I'm going to do is read to you a few choice cuts. The statement can be found on our website if you would like to read that, but they issued this to the media. WWE is saddened by the death of Ashley Massaro, and we reiterate our condolences to the family. However, we regret that her attorney is using Ashley's death to further his malicious campaign against WWE by releasing the affidavit. At no point was Vince McMahon or the management of WWE ever informed by Ashley Massaro or anybody else that she had been sexually assaulted, drugged, raped, or sodomized by a military doctor with a nurse standing guard while on a goodwill tour to the US military bases in Kuwait. At no time was there ever a meeting with Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn, John Laurinaitis, or other company executives in which she told them of such a claim and was instructed to keep it quiet. So this is obviously a very difficult, very tricky matter, but it's an important one, and one that needs to really be covered, because this controversy has unfortunately been buried under a lot of other stuff. WWE have adopted their usual approach up until this statement of just kind of trying to hope it blows over, but it's really quite gross stuff, and we kind of needed to dig into it today.
Yeah, it felt important to kind of bring this up because I think a few people have possibly tried to steer away from it, given the fact that it's a very sensitive subject indeed. There's a little bit more, I guess, now to talk about in terms of the fact that WWE have actually issued a statement. It's a tough one, this, because we can't possibly, and we shouldn't possibly, try to claim who is right or who is wrong in this. We don't know the facts so much.
Yeah, it's a very thorough, very detailed statement. WWE, in a lot of situations, will just release a sentence. I guess they had to be a bit more detailed here because the affidavit, which can be viewed online all over the place, we've published it on our website as part of the news update as well, has a lot of really excruciatingly disturbing
it's horrible.
Worrying details.
Yeah, it's not nice.
It would be extremely irresponsible for us as outsiders to sit here and break it down and try and analyse the finer points of the case and so forth. Let's see how it all plays out in the media. Either way, it's not a good look for WWE. And once again, rest in peace to Ashley Massaro.
Indeed.
Here's hoping that her friends and family have at least began the process of grief and can someday come to terms with what happened.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself, Mr. Murray. But moving back to sort of WWE and what's happening within the company, putting all that aside, apparently according to the reports from backstage, the wildcard rule is causing a bit of trouble in terms of creative. A lot of people feel like it's completely disrupted what's going on within the company, and obviously we've seen a lot of the results that have happened as a result of that.
Yeah, I believe this is a Sean Ross Sapp report, and I think he said something along the lines of, like, everyone he has spoken to backstage, barring one person, is not in favour of the rule. They think that absolutely sucks. One wrestler said that they could understand if WWE was just using it for one person, but they're using it as a crutch. Absolutely right. It just kind of reflects everything that's been said so far, doesn't it?
And it's so see-through and transparent that this is for the TV ratings, for Fox and the complaints that they've been having. And I feel like even with the addition of the 24/7 title, which I'm very much for, I should point out, I think the wildcard rule is basically a way of going, let's not try to overthink this and just do whatever we want and play this into our hands. Which, lazy is a harsh word, but I feel like it is kind of lazy.
It kind of is. It's definitely a cop-out. It's definitely a crutch. We've got to a point where it's like top stars are really benefiting from this because they're appearing on both shows every single week. Whereas your kind of mid-card, the underutilized, your Buddy Murphys of the world aren't even making television because that time is now being taken up because Sami Zayn wanted to come over to SmackDown and fanny around with Kofi Kingston and stuff. It's kind of a mess.
They're picking the easy option, aren't they? Which it seems it's a way, like you say, for shoehorning in the guys, the top guys they want to fill in, and hopefully the sort of end result isn't going to be that completely pushes away all the mid-card guys.
And with it, WWE's year of backstage discontent continues.
Indeed.
We're going to move on to another organisation now. AEW, of course. Double or Nothing goes down this Saturday night.
It is indeed,
Cannot
yes.
wait. Me and the beautiful Adam Nicholas will be live on the stream on this very
be.
YouTube channel watching the show. So if you want to join us, please do.
Well, the other boys, we should point out, are in Las Vegas themselves, right there on the ground, covering all of it. So keep an eye out on our YouTube channel for that, because there's going to be plenty of footage, I would imagine, from the actual event.
Content's going to go down.
It's going to go well.
Anyway, we have a new update on how AEW intend on crowning their first champion. Now, this is relatively big news because they haven't even unveiled the belt yet. But on last night's Road to Double or Nothing show, British comedian Jack Whitehall was there.
Jack Whitehall.
He made the announcement. He claims that the winner of the Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho main event will go on to face the winner of the Casino Battle Royal. Now, obviously, both of these matches take place this weekend, and the title match will go down on a future show. So, quite a lot of possibilities there. Obviously,
Absolutely.
Omega or Okada? Omega or Jericho.
Okada signs for AEW. You've heard it here first. Exclusive
Tell
Saxon.
the internet. Obviously, Jericho or Omega. Very appropriate headliners. Makes you wonder who's going to win this Casino Battle Royal, because looking at the current competitors, Sean Spears, relatively big name, he was Ty Dillinger. Is he going to sell pay-per-views? I don't know. Joey Janela, big independent name. Do the wider audience, are they as familiar with him? Billy Gunn?
Now, to be fair, he's in the best condition of his life, Billy Gunn, albeit perhaps by questionable methods, as WWE might tell you, allegedly. But at the end of the day, this is massive. This makes the importance of the Casino Battle Royale, very, very, very important, because we've got Kenny Omega and you've got Chris Jericho. The two are arguably two of the top guys. They need a top opponent. Now, obviously, there's a few potential people who might turn up in that Battle Royal. If you ask Adam Wilborn, he might tell you otherwise, but probably one of the names, surely, floating around in there is Jon Moxley. A lot of people are expecting, perhaps.
That's the guy for me.
Perhaps to turn up.
That's the guy for me.
Realistically, no disrespect to the other guys in that Battle Royal, but you're looking for a big name, aren't you? A big name. And unless they decide randomly to put Adam Page in there, which would be a drastic error for me, because I feel like we need a match that would live up to the sort of hype of Pac and Page, then we might be struggling there for the top guy, at least.
They may well be. Obviously, the dream scenario here is probably CM Punk, but that's almost certainly not going to happen.
And the key word there is dream.
Yeah,
it's definitely dream.
Absolutely. Don't go writing on your Reddit comment section saying, "And if you look at you say CM Punk's going to be WWE." He's not, obviously. No. Jon Moxley, probably the best case scenario.
Indeed, but CM Punk probably definitely not happening. Something else that isn't happening is Kevin Owens is one of the people who isn't going to Saudi Arabia, but there's two more people who have now been added to that list. We were told yesterday that Aleister Black and Daniel Bryan will not be traveling to Saudi Arabia for WWE's Super Showdown show. That means that on top of Kevin Owens, Aleister Black and Daniel Bryan, we also have Sami Zayn. That's four guys from the roster who will not be traveling to Saudi Arabia for the show. This is interesting to see, and it's nice to see that the performers who don't want to travel are being allowed to not travel, or certainly have that right. But it's not a good look, I guess, in terms of people are obviously starting to realise this isn't a good thing.
Yeah, this is garbage. Shout outs to John Pollock from Post Wrestling for confirming Aleister Black and Daniel Bryan. We knew Kevin Owens yesterday. Sami Zayn, you know, his Syrian heritage was always going to prevent him from being number two. And Aleister Black's kind of an interesting one, right?
Daniel Bryan didn't go at the last one, obviously, so.
Of course.
After Greatest Royal.
So Black's probably the most interesting one there because he's a fresh name. Obviously, he wasn't on the main roster at the time of the previous show, Crown Jewel, last November, I believe it was. No, it wasn't November. When was Crown Jewel? Let's say November.
Sometime
last year. It was in 2018. It happened. That's four so far. None of them were scheduled to compete. None of them had a match penciled in, although you'd have to imagine that most of them, if not all of them, would have been involved in that crazy, wacky 50-man battle royal.
50-man battle royal.
I don't think this is going to be the end of it either.
No, I don't. I think I think it's a case of you get 4 guys, and then you start off with a couple of guys. Now it's 4. Soon it's going to be 5 or 10, and then you're going to have a whole list of people who are saying they don't want to go because probably their confidence is built up that they're not going to get sort of cruel booking or whatever by choosing not to. And it is definitely their right to not go.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for them for making a stand. Like
absolutely.
we keep saying on these videos, anything that gives the wrestlers more power with things like this is good for the business,
absolutely.
Good for everything as a whole. So let's just see how the collective locker room as a whole reacts to the show. Couple more stories here. We're going to blast through them. We have an injury update. WWE Ruby Riott. She's goosed.
Oh dear.
Yeah, she won't be wrestling for Raw anymore. That doesn't work. It's not a song. Basically, she has suffered what WWE.com are describing as a bilateral injury to her right shoulder. Now, Ruby herself posted an Instagram update of herself post-surgery yesterday. She's got a big old sling, but she's looking super happy.
Wow.
So she's had surgery on her right shoulder. The bad news is that she now needs to have the same surgery on her left.
Oh, that usually happens, to be fair, though, when it comes to shoulder surgery.
It balances out. It's a really ropey situation. She's going to miss several months of television.
That sucks.
It does suck, especially when you're considering what's happened to the Riott Squad post-shake-up. You know, Liv was sent to SmackDown. None of them have made Raw or SmackDown since then. Ruby has been on main event, I believe. Sucky situation for someone who, by all accounts, is a really good egg.
Yeah, and also someone who I'd quite personally like to see do well and get to the top and get a chance to run with the title, to be fair, because I think she's good
really
enough. But
good.
interesting to see how this will lead sort of Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan. I was going to have thought I got the names wrong there, but I got it right. Sarah McLovin. So basically, the most interesting point for me here is how they will end up faring. Now, I get a terrible feeling that they just might not reappear, because Ruby Riott for me is the focal point there. Sarah Logan's probably the next most talented, then obviously Liv Morgan, but I guess best wishes to Ruby Riott. Hopefully she gets better as swiftly as she possibly can, because we want to see her back and getting to the top of that women's roster. Doing her thing and making it happen. Speaking about people being at the top, that's not even a good segue, but I'm just going to push it in there.
We never do good
segues, but here we go. Let's talk about Braun Strowman. He had an interview the other day with The Express, and he said that he wants to retire. I do a drum roll, but we already mentioned it in the intro. The Undertaker, of all people, of course he does. And I've got a quote here from the interview with The Express. He said, just the opportunity to share the ring with the Undertaker, but maybe be the final hammer to nail the coffin shut of the dead man. The monster is up to the challenge. I don't know how many more retirement matches he can have. A little bit of a shot there, perhaps. I can put him out to pasture just like I did the Big Show. Interesting from Braun here. And I don't know, I've never really thought about these two having a match, to be honest. I know, well, if you remember rightly, when Kane and The Undertaker, do you remember when they disappeared for a bit, when the Riott family stole them?
Yeah.
And then they came back out completely fine. And Braun, who'd been completely untouchable with the Riott family at this point, just got clotheslined over a table by the big lads. And hopefully, this match might be a little different to that, if it does happen, of course. But, Andy Murray, would you like to see this match?
I mean, regular viewers of the show will know that I'm not particularly hot on the idea of The Undertaker ever wrestling again.
That makes two of us.
Yeah, even though he probably does deserve a retirement match. Braun would probably be quite appropriate. I know a lot of people would like to see a darker character like the Demon or Aleister Black take that role. Now, Braun's going to be that headlining monster for years and years to come. It does make sense. It's kind of hard to argue with his logic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he fits the bill, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The big guy against the big guy. And if someone's going to get the rub from it, then why not Braun Strowman?
Why not Braun Strowman, a guy people still like, despite
WWE's best efforts to just put him in weird scenarios.
Break a car now.
And then I'm going to lose in 3 minutes to Brock, because that's it. Good.
Twitter questions.
Hey, we got there. Well done.
The first one today comes from Cayman Gamer Titletown.
Good.
I don't know what that means, but shout outs to you and your cool mask. With the WWE 24/7 title being a thing, do you think that WWE could use that as a potential way to do surprise returns for previously injured wrestlers?
Yes, absolutely. I think not just that. I mean, that's a great idea, I should point out, but it also just opens the door to everything. As Mick Foley said, the sort of cross-roster stuff, also the returning of legends who could come back and challenge for the title. We've already seen JBL tweeting about, ooh, this is interesting. I know one person in the Watch Culture office who would pop his tits off. I'm looking at you, Ben Roy Turner, but
that's his alarm tone.
His actual alarm tone.
JBL's theme is
bum. And a moo as well. But yeah, I would like to see that used as a way to bring people back. I'd also like it used as a way to bring people up. and just have people who perhaps might not get a chance to be on TV get some TV time.
Partnering around the show, doing all kinds of wacky stuff. Love the 24/7 belt. Hope it results in a few fun returns.
Ugly as hell, but that's not important. What it represents and what it gives us is more important.
The fun factor, the chaos factor. Next question from a legend of the Q&A section, Fat Momoa.
Yeah, boy.
How would you feel about Charlotte Flair and Lacey Evans competing as a tag team? Kind of dug their chemistry of them together on Raw, the natural heat they would bring. Get in my veins.
Interesting. Immediately I'm thinking of Charlotte Flair and Dana Brooke, that sort of dynamic of the mentor and the sort of apprentice, carry me coffee, that kind of thing. They definitely have the aesthetic. Those two would go together well in an aesthetic, but I think, for me personally, maybe not. I'd like to see what Lacey Evans can do by herself on that main roster, or if she's going to be in a tag team, not necessarily just chucked in there with Charlotte to kind of take the whole place by storm. It would be nice to see her kind of get up on her own merits, but I don't know, they definitely have that aesthetic. I will give them that.
They do have that. They did work pretty well on SmackDown as well, and then they had the beatdown of Becky at the pay-per-view. Charlotte kind of barking orders and directing traffic. I think it would be interesting, but I too would also kind of like to see Lacey Evans just kind of grow on her own.
And also, she might end up having to do the whole, I'm like dressed the same as Charlotte. You know, she has to steal her gimmick, because there's no way Charlotte's taking the sassy Southern Belle gimmick.
No, she most certainly is not.
Certainly not.
And our final question today comes from a name I cannot even hope to pronounce, but it's at ZGully300.
Go on, give it a shot.
Sai1.
It's Silverblade, just with numbers.
Oh, I am an idiot.
I've got the vision.
I don't understand the internet. Sorry.
He's old. What are you going to do?
31. So with the announcement of TakeOver War Game Stream, what would you, and this is for us, I put this in specifically for us.
Okay.
What would you guys think of an NXT UK NXT crossover with the Undisputed Era taking on Wolf, Walter, Eichner, and Bartel?
We could have just given them their name, couldn't we?
Yeah, Imperium.
There you go. Yes, for a minute there,
Ring camp.
for a minute in my head, I thought you meant Barry from the pub. Barry from the pub, and I was lost, very lost. Shout out to you, Barry, my friend. Yes, I would definitely be up for this. If anything, I got a sneaky suspicion that might be what they were leading towards.
It might be.
Because why else put these guys together? That is a perfect team, and not since we had Sanity taking on. I was about to go diving into this. Sanity taking on Authors of Pain, and we had the mixture of that. An Undisputed Era, obviously. Not since that would there be more of a perfect sort of team.
Yeah.
Sort of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Cohesion.
Cohesion, that's what I'm looking for. Yes, absolutely. I'm on board with this. What about you?
100% on board with it. The Imperium group are office favourites already. We love Fabian Eichner in particular. We love Marcel Bartel. These guys are awesome. Like, they've obviously worked together as ring camp apart from Eichner, in WXW and a number of other European promotions. I think that would be awesome. All 8 of them are tremendous professional wrestlers. Make it happen.
And just watching Walter just destroy people inside that structure is terrifying. 2 rings. We got a ring. We got 2 rings.
Walter kicks off his flip.
Love that, yeah. Walter's flip-flops.
Walter and Matt Riddle, the mashup you never knew you wanted. And finally today, we've spoken a little bit about Braun Strowman potentially retiring The Undertaker there. What if, Adam Nicholas, what if their feud was not only over The Undertaker's career...
This is going to be so silly, isn't it?
But this haircut.
Oh my goodness.
Braun Strowman, or Adam Scher as his real name is, has done himself a mischief on Instagram. Look at that.
Interesting.
Thing.
That is, I mean, listen, I'm not going to tell him otherwise, right? Because he's bigger than I am. The 2 of me, I'm not sure, are the same size as Braun Strowman.
I mean, far be it for me to criticise any man's haircut.
Listen, you're still allowed to criticise. You've just got to expect to get some fire in return.
Take the cue ball, it's more of a kiwi fruit at the moment.
It is. It's looking good. That it is. Kiwi fruit's probably an accurate term for that.
I do like kiwi fruit, but I don't like this.
Can you imagine? No. But just can you imagine if they actually did that feud over the hair? That is something that WWE would do.
It absolutely
The 2 of them in a hairdressers. Anyway, we're out of time, I believe.
Stupid thing for a while. Anyway, yes, we are indeed out of time. Thank you for joining us today. I can't remember the usual blurb that Mr. Wilborn does in this spot, but you can follow Adam Nicholas at
It's Adam Nicholas, and you can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. You can follow us at What Culture WWE, and also send us your Twitter questions. We will be back tomorrow.
We will.
But we will not be here on Monday because it's a public holiday in the UK. See you later. Enjoy whatever the heck you're doing tonight. Make some pancakes. Drink some Tizer. I don't know. Have fun.
Tizer. You've given them Tizer.
Sorry. Bye.
Mountain Dew, everybody. Other drinks are available. Goodbye.